The purchase. The wind on Acheron, 6 never stopped screaming. It swept across the dust-choked plains, over broken fence posts and rusted farm rigs, carrying grit and memories Jack Ryland would rather forget. His boots crunched through dead soil as he surveyed the empty rows where crops should have been thriving. Nothing but yellowed stalks and mechanical failure. He rubbed a hand over his face, the callous skin rasping against the scruff on his jaw. Another failed harvest. Another nail in the coffin of a dream that had died the same day his wife had. Inside the house, silence reigned. Once, it had been filled with laughter, Myra's jokes, her stubborn humming while fixing solar panels, her gentle snoring beside him at night. Now, it was just him and a cracked hollow frame of a smiling woman with auburn hair. The Colony Council's message blinked on his wrist pad. Mandatory settlement participation. Human Reproliferation Initiative. Another reminder that widowers like him were being pushed, pressured, to remarry and repopulate the human frontier. Jack didn't want another wife. He didn't want anything. But the solar converter was down, and the water filters were rusted to hell. If he didn't find parts today, his farm would die before winter. He headed to the nearest outpost, Crossbar Station. It was a 2-hour drive across blistered rock, and the town wasn't much more than rusted stalls, neon signs, and desperate merchants. But it was the only place left where a man could still barter for scrap and maybe, just maybe, forget he was alone. The bazaar reeked of oil, sweat, and desperation. Traders hawked glowing stones, alien spices, and malfunctioning droids. Jack weaved through the crowd, his eyes scanning for the salvage vendor. Then he heard shouting, raucous, excited, too loud to ignore. A small crowd had gathered near a platform in the back alley of the bazaar. Jack's instincts flared. Auction. He hated auctions. Still, something pulled at him. A noise. A voice? No, a whimper. He edged closer. On the platform stood a tall, sleek woman in crimson robes, Madame Caithra. Jack recognized her, a minor noble from the outer systems, known for selling exotic companions. Legal under the Empire's trade laws, barely. Immoral as hell. Flanking her were 2 girls. Identical twins. Slender, otherworldly. Not human. Aurelians, judging by their pale skin that shimmered faintly under the station lights. Their long silver hair had been tied in ceremonial braids, and their large violet eyes scanned the crowd, wary and resigned. Caithra's voice slithered through the speakers. Fresh from House Valari, pure-blooded, unspoiled bonded twins. Trained in obedience, empathy, and companionship. 1 credit reserve. Laughter rippled through the crowd. A drunk miner shouted, "I'll take him for 5 and a ration card." The twins didn't flinch, but their eyes told the truth. They were afraid. Jack's hands clenched. He turned to walk away. It wasn't his business. He didn't want this world's filth seeping into his bones. But then, one of the twins, left side, narrow face, looked at him. Just for a second. Not begging. Not pleading. Just hoping. It felt like someone reached into his chest and twisted. He stepped onto the platform. 10 credits, Jack said. The laughter stopped. Caithra blinked. A scraggly trader muttered, "You nuts, old man." Caithra recovered, smiling like a predator. 10? Surely a farmer can't afford such luxuries. Jack dropped his ID chip and a hard plastic cred wallet on the counter. "That's my savings. Transfer now." The twins stared at him. Caithra hesitated, then shrugged. "Sold." As the crowd grumbled, Jack scooped up his gear and turned to the girls. They didn't move. "You're coming or not?" he asked, not unkindly. The one who had looked at him, Lyra, he'd later learn, stepped forward first. The other followed without a word. They walked behind him into the dying light of Acheron, 6, bought and freed in the same breath. The ride back was silent. The girls sat stiffly in the hauler's rear seat, eyes fixed forward. Jack could feel their tension like a storm cloud. He finally broke the silence. "I'm not going to touch you," he said. "You're not slaves. I don't believe in that. I just couldn't leave you there." The twins exchanged glances. "You bought us," the quiet one, Sarah, said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I bought your freedom. I guess. That's all." Silence again. Back at the homestead, he showed them to the spare room, Myra's old garden room, long since empty to plants. "It's not much," he said. "Clean sheets, hot water, food's in the cooler. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. I'll even give you some supplies. But this place is safe. For now." Lyra looked at him, guarded but curious. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because someone should have done it for my wife." Then he left them alone. The next few days passed in awkward coexistence. The girl stayed mostly inside. Jack worked the fields, repaired solar panels, and ignored the aching in his chest. At night, he'd cook and leave plates of them on the table. Sometimes, they'd eat while he was out fixing things. Once, he caught them watching an old Hollywood mirror used to love. He said nothing. On the fourth morning, Lyra followed him outside. "I can repair the irrigation relay," she said, kneeling by a busted circuit. "I studied hydrogrids on Valari Prime." Jack raised a brow. "Be my guest." She worked in silence. Efficient, methodical. Jack handed her tools without speaking. That night, Sarah joined them for dinner. "Your wife," she said suddenly. "You loved her." Jack nodded. "Still do. She must have been kind. She was. Kept me human during the war." Lyra frowned. "You're a soldier?" "Used to be. Terraforming engineer first, then demolitions. Fought in the Outer Rim conflicts." The girl said nothing, but the way they looked at him changed. On the seventh night, a message pinged his comms. Anonymous. No traceable origin. "You took something that belongs to me." Jack stared at it for a long time before deleting it. Lyra found him on the roof, watching the stars. "You've made enemies," she said. Jack didn't look at her. "Wouldn't be the first time. She'll come for us. Then she'll find out what happens when you corner a Terran with nothing to lose." Lyra was quiet a moment. Then, "Why are you really helping us?" He exhaled. "I told you. Couldn't stand by. But why us?" He finally turned. "Because I looked at you and I saw my wife. Not her face, but the same look in her eyes. The one she had when the bombs fell and I couldn't save her. This time, I could do something." Lyra's expression trembled, but only for a second. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she went back inside. Jack sat alone under the stars, the weight in his chest a little lighter than before. The reckoning. The morning sun cast long, golden rays over the dusty plains of Acheron, 6, painting the land in amber silence. For the first time in years, Jack Ryland woke up without the weight of grief pressing against his ribs. Something had shifted. He stepped onto the porch with his morning brew and found Sarah tending to a row of seedlings. She knelt in the dirt, whispering softly to each sprout like they were children. Lyra sat nearby with a data pad, mapping a new hydrogrid for the upcoming drought season. This was peace. This was healing. But peace never lasted long on the fringe. It began with the drone, small, fast, black as obsidian. It streaked across the sky just past midday and vanished into the horizon. Jack saw it and froze. Recon drone. Military grade. Not local. Not legal. Lyra ran out from the workshop. "That was Aurelian made," she said grimly. "Caithra's watching us." "She's more than watching," Jack muttered. That night, Jack unlocked the hidden compartment under the barn floor. His war kit was still there. Compact assault rifle, 2 frag grenades, 7 breacher charges, and his old engineer's exogauntlet. He checked the seals. Still clean. Still ready. Sarah entered behind him, eyes wide. "You going to fight? If it comes to that, you can let us go. We're the target." "No," Jack said, not looking up. "You're not running anymore." The attack came the next day. 5 armored mercs, Aurelian black-armored veterans, dropped from a gunship that screamed in over the hills. They moved fast, tactical, surgical. They underestimated him. Jack triggered the first trap before they reached the porch. A pressure plate wired to a stun blast blew 2 of them into the dirt. Lyra, watching from a vantage point, launched a hacked signal burst that jammed their comms. Sarah used a beacon to lure one into the irrigation trench, where Jack dropped a crate on him from above. That left 2. The lead merc kicked in the front door, scanning with a pulse rifle, only to get a faceful of old Terran gas mines. The last turned to flee. Jack caught him at the barn. "Tell Caithra," he said, stepping from the shadows, barrel pressed to the merc's neck. "She sends anyone else, I'll take her palace next. The Merc ran like hell. That night, Jack sat with the twins on the front porch, blood still crusted on his sleeve. He handed them a cold drink. "We can't stay," Lyra said. Jack nodded. "Nope, we're going to her." Both girls looked at him, stunned. "But Sarah started. Jack's eyes were steel. "She tried to take my family. I only lose them once." They traveled under darkness. Lyra had hacked into Caithra's old trade records. The woman ran her operations out of a heavily fortified estate on the orbital uplink station, a pseudo-legal enclave where nobles could rule like gods. But even gods bled. They docked the next night. Jack wore combat armor patched together from scrap and warm memories. Lyra carried a stolen data pike. Sarah wore a shielded cloak, her empathic talents focused and sharp. They moved like ghosts through the station's lower decks. When they reached Caithra's estate gates, Jack rigged the doors with breacher charges. One silent countdown later, boom, and they were inside. Guards came running. Jack took the first 3 with quick, practiced bursts. Lyra jammed their internal surveillance. Sarah screamed. "No!" projected a wave of panic, flooding the minds of those within 10 meters. They found Caithra in the throne room, smug in her jeweled robes, flanked by mercenaries with auto rifles. "Really, Jack," she purred. "All this for 2 alien waifs? You could have had power, companionship, empire favors. But you chose them." Jack didn't flinch. "You chose the wrong enemy." She waved her hand. "Kill them." But Lyra had already released the virus, a data bomb that lit up the entire state systems, exposing files. Names, auction vids, slave ledgers, bribes, everything. The data spilled across public comms, broadcast planet-wide. Caithra's face paled. The mercs hesitated. Then one dropped his weapon and bolted. Another followed. Jack stepped forward. "You trafficked children. You tortured them, sold them like cattle." Caithra spat. "Their property." Jack shot the ground in front of her. "Not anymore." Sirens howled across the station. Real ones this time. Off-world inspectors. Human Rights Enforcement Division. Somehow, someone had responded to the signal Lyra sent during the breach. They stormed in moments later. Caithra was arrested screaming. The trip home was quiet. They didn't speak until the homestead came into view, battered but standing. Jack turned to them. "You're free. No one's coming again." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. "You didn't just save us," she whispered. "You gave us life." Jack looked out over the horizon. "You gave me one too." Weeks passed. The farm flourished. Lyra built a new irrigation system from old salvage. Sarah restored Myra's garden, flowers blooming in vibrant defiance of the dry soil. Jack laughed more, ate better, slept without dreams. He'd bought them out of cruelty, but he didn't own them. They were family now, and no one would ever take that from him again.